Hello, One Fit Bruja here, and today I'm going to be hauling some books for you guys. I haven't read all of these yet, but I'm kind of the person that kind of like stops and starts different books sporadically, so there's a lot of bookmarks in all of these. Alright, first off we have Scott Cunningham's Wicca in the Kitchen. Now this was actually gifted to me by my best friend. I love this guy's books. He is so thorough about the things that he writes about. I'm one of those people who loves food magic, so I always love researching like all the herbs and stuff that goes into everything and what they mean. And so this has about 27 recipes in it, and it explains what each herb does thoroughly. It's just great. It's great for beginners, especially too, if you're just getting into, kitchen witchery. I love kitchen witchery. You can do so much with that, and you can get to be so creative. So I recommend picking this up. Scott Cunningham has some of the best books. You really can't go wrong with his stuff. So anything that has his name on it, just grab it. Next up is Wikipedia. I mean, you guys have probably seen a lot of this all over Instagram or whatever social media you have, and if you follow a lot of witches or Wiccans or pagans or anything along those lines. So this is a modern guide, like what it says. It's pretty simple. It has a pretty explanatory things about herbs, small little simple spells. So if you're just getting into the craft, this is going to be your go-to Bible right here. So yeah, grab this if you're a beginner. This would help you a lot. It explains just about a little bit of everything and how to incorporate it into your craft. So I always see a lot of newbie witches like on Pagan and Witches Amino app, and they're always asking, what spells can I do first? And I always say you should cast a circle first. Learn how to do that, get that down, because that's your protection. That's what you need when you're doing just about anything. Anything that takes a lot of energy, that's kind of draining, you need a circle. Because you don't want anything getting in there, honestly. Anything that's not gonna help your craft, help your work, and you don't want anything latching onto you that's gonna drain you of your energy. But anyways, I'm getting off a topic with that. So let's move on to the next book. The next book is Basic Witches. It's so cute, right? Look at all the art and stuff all over it. I love the art, but as far as knowledge about witchcraft or Wicca or anything along those lines, it didn't really have anything in there that I would recommend. This is more or less about self-love, which is great. I mean, I'm all about self-love. Everybody needs to, treat themselves. But yeah, it doesn't have the basics of actual witchcraft and what you would normally be doing, you know what I mean? Like as far as spell casting, making your circle, herbs and such like that. It's kind of like made up. So it's up to you if you really want that. If you are someone who needs a little mental health pick-me-up, then this book would probably be good to pick up just to feel uplifted. Moving on to the next book is The Witch's Book of the Dead by Christian Day. This guy actually has some in-depth detail in this book, and I was quite surprised because I actually haven't heard of him. Some of you may have. I actually got this book about 6 years ago, and this was before I was doing anything that has to do with witchcraft or, along those lines. I was not spiritually woke yet, to say the least. So, but yeah, this teaches you how to commune with the dead, how to set up altars for the dead, basically necromancy kind of sort of work. I mean, I understand that's somewhat darker work for some people and they don't want to get into that kind of stuff, but I'm the type of witch who likes to dabble in darker magic. I do hexes, I do curse work, I do blood work. I'm not afraid of that kind of work. It actually intrigues me, and I like that kind of energy, surprisingly. I mean, I know a lot of witches don't. They're mostly light workers from what I've seen. There are very few witches who like to dabble in that darker work that I actually see like on YouTube or Instagram or my app, my Pagan Witches Amino app. So there's not a lot of information out there, so I notice there's a lot of people who are curious about that kind of stuff. So If you want just the tidbits, little bits of information, I mean, this is kind of like a beginner's again. So it's really good though. So that'll teach you what you need to know before you start getting all the way into that kind of magic. So you know how to prepare yourself for that. Good book. Pick the next book you guys have probably heard of. It's actually pretty popular. I've seen it all over Instagram, all over YouTube, all over my Pagan and Witches Amino app. It's basically everywhere if you're interested in this kind of lifestyle. So, another Scott Cunningham book, Wicca, A Guide for the Solitary Practitioner. Now this is also another beginner's book, but this is in depth. I like the way he explains things. Like I said before, this guy is very knowledgeable. He's been doing this for many years. And all of his books are good as far as I've read. I mean, I've read a couple of them. I mean, this one in the Kitchen Witch. But he explains everything that you need to know, especially for beginners. He teaches you right off the bat that you should probably have a protective circle. I mean, I don't know. That's just something I keep gripping upon because I know when you're first starting out, you want to rush into things. You want to start doing magic. You just want to catch up to everybody else. And that's not the point. We're not playing catch up. There's no race. You go at this at your pace. Do not rush yourself. There's no need to rush. There's always the next day and there's more books you need to read. There's so many things to educate yourself on. This is a journey. This is something you'll probably be doing until the day you die, and you still won't know everything. So I'm going to stop rambling and move on to the next book because I could ramble for a long time if you haven't noticed. All right, so this one I just picked up and I haven't gotten to read yet. I actually got 2 copies of this book, one for me and one for my best friend because her birthday is coming up soon. And she's also moving, so I wanted to give her a little something. So this is Women Who Run with the Wolves. And there's like little stories in here, missing stories about powerful women who use their feminine energy to do incredible things. And from what I've read, like when I was in the description box and from the back of the book, is that this is basically you're going back to nature, you're going back to your gut root feeling, your intuition feeling, and these women are running with it and taking it, and they're not letting anyone tell them jack shit what to do. So, and I thought this would be really good for my best friend because she's actually moving and she's going to be starting school in Minnesota, and she doesn't really know anybody out there, and I want her to stay strong. I mean, she's a fucking Virgo, okay? Earth signs are strong no matter what, but, you know, just in case she slips a little, that book will most likely help. That's a great book to empower women. So pick that up. Right, the next book is The Secret History of the World. This book basically contains little stories, kind of like the last one I showed you, about ancient teachings, like all over the world, literally. So it's about alchemists, there's things about gods, prophets, archangels, just about everything. It's pretty cool. So if you like all these little stories and knowing like little things about just about every kind of culture, I like learning about different cultures. That's like one of my favorite things to do in my free time. The next book I have is actually rather thick, but this one has a lot of detail, and just like the other one, has a lot of smaller stories in one big book. I mean, look at this thing. It's a freaking Bible of the secret teachings of all ages. This has like a bunch of smaller stories, like I was saying before, and it's about kind of in a philosophical kind of viewpoint, and they talk about a lot of things that aren't really brought up as much, like you don't really hear that much about, and they try to shorten them all into smaller stories, and smaller stories they say, but it's actually really cool. So if you like learning about different cultures and things that aren't really brought to the surface a lot within our media and all that, you know, of course things are hidden for a reason, but yeah, read this book. This is really cool. This will definitely intrigue your senses. Next book is Grimoire for the Green Witch. Cannot pronounce things worth shit some days, so I'm sorry. And This is actually a complete book of shadows. I mean, I got bookmarks and everything. You've probably seen them in like about 5 other books I've showed you. Obviously, I read things, get halfway, stop, read something else, and then kind of forgot that I was even reading it for a second. But this is really cool. This explains things really thoroughly, obviously, because it's pretty big. So, it better, right? In-depth rituals. It tells you about herbs that you use in the rituals, exactly what to say, exactly how you're supposed to move, like every little thing. So if you want to know every little thing about green witchcraft, then I suggest picking this up. It's actually a really cool read. It's also by Anne Mora. I have, I want to say her tarot deck and her, the book that goes with it. Oh my gosh, that's another video. I'll have to show you that because that tarot deck's really beautiful. Guys, last book is a beginner's book, and it's The Beginner's Guide to Wicca. This is actually pretty cute on the inside. They have all these little, look at this, right? Look at these drawings. I see so many drawings like on Instagram that look so cute and witchy, and you just kind of wish you could go through that drawing and live in it, and that's the kind of art that's in this book. It actually, I don't know, it wasn't the best read. It's really like the least amount of information that you could get from a book, in my opinion. It's definitely for a beginner, like a beginner, like 12 years old beginner. There's even a couple typos in this book. I'm like bashing this book. It sounds like I'm bashing it. But you still learn quite a few things about it. You learn about the Sabbats. You learn about certain herbs. There's really, really simplistic spells in this. So if you really are just starting out and you have no idea what to do, then this would probably be your book. All right. Well, I am all out of books, and I want to thank you for sticking around till the end and listening to me ramble in between all the books, because I can be a rambler. I'll see all you lovely little brujitas later.